Hello everyone, this is Mario Dude 87. Welcome back to Let's Play the 39 Steps. Last time we did the wrong ditch, and now we're gonna do an unlikely visit. Resolved to leave England for the Cape, Hanway's outlook changes as a mysterious visitor drops in. So let's get into it, shall we? Yeah, I already started this because I was recording and the game crashed, so I lost all the footage. I didn't get very far, though. I thought it just crashed again. Looks like we're back at our apartment. Let us open door.
Hey, can I speak to you? May I come in for a minute?
I recognized him as the occupant of the flap on the top floor, with whom I had passed the time of the day on the stairs. Got it. Continue. He was slim, with short brown beard and small gimlety blue eyes. His hand was pawing at my arm. I motioned him in. Okay, back to like Nintendo DS stuff. Hey. Who thought this was a good idea? Come on. No sooner was he over the threshold than he made a dash for my back room, where I used to smoke and write my letters. Then he bolted back.
Is the door locked?
Filled himself a stiff whiskey and soda and drank it off in 3 gulps. Guy must be stressed or something. I sat down in an armchair and lit my pipe. I was pretty certain that I had to deal with a madman.
I'm very sorry. It's a mighty liberty, but you look like the kind of man who would understand. I've had you in my mind all this week when things got troublesome. Say, will you do me a good turn?
I'll listen to you. That's all I'll promise.
Pardon. I'm a bit rattled tonight. You see, I happen at this moment to be dead.
What does it feel like?
A smile flicked over his drawn face.
I'm not mad. Yet. Say, sir, I've been watching you, and I reckon you're a cool customer. I reckon, too, you're an honest man and not afraid of playing a bold hand. I'm gonna confide in you. I need help worse than any man ever needed it. I want to know if I can count you in.
Oh, you can count me in, all right. Adventure.
Get on with your yarn and I'll tell you.
Oh, it was nice of him to, put it in a movie form. Franklin P. Scudder was an American from Kentucky. After college, being pretty well off, he started out to see the world. Germany. He wrote a bit and acted as a war correspondent for a Chicago paper. He had played about with the politics at his first for interest, and then because he couldn't help himself. Then he made his discovery. tiptoe through the forest. Away behind all the government's armies, there was a big movement going on, engineered by some very dangerous people. Yes, they look very dangerous indeed. Sort of educated anarchists that made revolutions. You can tell they're dangerous by the way he has funny hair. And behind them, there were the financiers who were paying for the money. Playing for money. They wanted Russia and Germany at loggerheads. Everything would be in the melting pot. The anarchists looked to see a new world emerge, when the capitalists would make fortunes by buying up wreckage. And Scudder had himself convinced that Jewish men were behind it all. Why Jewish people?
On the 15th day of June, Konstantin Karolides is coming to this city. The British Foreign Office has taken to having international tea parties, and the biggest of them is due on that date. Now, Karolides is reckoned the principal guest, and if my friends have their way, he will never return to his admiring countrymen.
I sat up for that, for I'd been reading about Karolides that very afternoon.
Well, that's simple enough, anyhow. You can warn him and keep him at home.
And play their game. If he does not come, they win, for he's the only man that can straighten out the tangle. And if his government are warned, he won't come, for he does not know how big the stakes will be on June the 15th.
I was beginning to get interested in the beggar.
What about the British government? They're not going to let their guests be murdered. Tip them the wink, and they'll take extra precautions.
No good. They might stuff your city with plainclothes detectives and double the police, and Constantine would still be a doomed man. He'll be murdered by an Austrian, and there'll be plenty of evidence to show the connivance of the big folk in Vienna and Berlin. It will all be an infernal lie, of course, but the case will look black enough to the world. But it's not going to come off if there's a certain man alive right here in London on the 15th day of June. And that man is going to be your servant, Franklin P. Scudder.
Looks like we collected him. I was getting to think that this little chap... I was getting to like the little chap. His jaw had shut like a rat trap, and there was the fire of battle in his gimlety eyes.
Where did you find out this story?
I completed my evidence 10 days ago in Paris. I can't tell you the details now, for it's something of a history. But when I was quite sure in my own mind, I judged it my business to disappear. And I reached this city by a mighty queer circuit. Till yesterday, I thought I had muddied my trail some, and was feeling pretty happy. Then...
The recollection seemed to upset him, and he gulped down some more whiskey.
Then I saw a man standing in the street outside this block. I used to stay close in my room all day, and only slip out after dark for an hour or two. I watched him for a bit from my window. I thought I recognized him. He came in and spoke to the porter. When I came back from my walk last night, I found a card in my letterbox. It bore the name of the man I want least to meet on God's earth.
I think that the look in my companion's eyes, the sheer naked scare of his face, completely my conviction of his honesty.
What did you do next?
I realized I was bottled as sure as a pickled herring, and that there was only one way out. I had to die. If my pursuers knew I was dead, they would go to sleep again.
How did you manage it?
Okay, let's start with step one. myself up to look like death. That wasn't difficult for me. I'm no slouch at disguises. Then I got a corpse. You can always get a body in London if you know where to go for it. I fetched it back in a trunk on the top of a four-wheeler, and I had to be assisted upstairs to my room. I had to pile up evidence for my inquest, so I went to bed and got my man to mix me a sleeping draught, and then I told him to clear out. He wanted me to fetch me a doctor, but I swore some and said I couldn't abide leeches. Wait, what was that? Step 3? Yeah. When I was left alone, I started to fake up that corpse. He was my size, and I judged he had perished from too much alcohol, so I put some spirits about the place. The jaw was the weak point in the likeness, so I blew it away with my revolver. With a revolver. I dare say there would be somebody to swear having heard a shot, but there's no neighbors on my floor, and I guess I could risk it. I left the body in my bed, in bed, dressed up in my pajamas, with a revolver lying on the bedclothes and a considerable mess around. Then I got into a suit of clothes. I had kept waiting for emergencies. I didn't dare shave for fear of leaving tracks, and besides, it wasn't any kind of use my trying to get into the streets. Okay. Well, that's how he died.
I had had you in my mind all day, and there seemed nothing to do but to make an appeal to you. I watched from my window till I saw you come home, and then slipped down the stair to meet you.
He sat blinking like an owl, fluttering with nerves and desperately determined.
There, sir. I guess you know about as much as me of this business.
Oh, yes. I was now pretty well convinced that he was going straight with me. It was a wild sort of nature, but I had heard in my time many slept tales which had turned out to be true. And if he wanted to get a location in my flat and then cut my throat, he would have pitched a milder yarn. Milder yarn.
Hand me your key, and I'll take a look at the corpse. Excuse my caution, but I'm bound to verify a bit if I can.
I reckon you'd ask for that. But I haven't got it. It's on my chain on the dressing table. I had to leave it behind, for I couldn't leave any clues to breed suspicions. The gentry who are after me are pretty bright-eyed citizens. You'll have to take me on trust for the night, and tomorrow you'll get the proof of the corpse business right enough.
I thought for an instant or two.
Right. I'll trust you for the night. I'll lock you into this room and keep the key. Just one word, Mr. Scudder. I believe you're straight. But if so be you are not, I should warn you that I'm a handy man with a gun.
I haven't the privilege of your name, sir, but let me tell you that you're a true gentleman. Now, I'll thank you to lend me a razor.
I took him into my bedroom and turned him loose. Half an hour time, a figure came out, which I scarcely recognized.
My hat, Mr. Scudder.
A new man. Only his gimlety, hungry eyes were the same. He was the very model, even to brown complexion, of some British officer who had a long spell in India. He was shaved clean, his hair was parted in the middle, and he had cut his eyebrows.
Not Mr. Scudder. Captain Theophilus Digby of the 40th Gurkhas. Presently home on leave. I'll thank you to remember that, sir.
I made him up a bed in the smoking room and sought my own couch, more cheerful than I had been for the past month. Things did happen occasionally, even if in this God-forgotten metropolis. Well, this is a good place to end it, so I'll see you guys on the next episode of Let's Play the 39 Steps. I'll see you guys later.